Hello, Dave. How are we all doing? Constantine Tomwoods Galer. This week on Seachtain Show, welcome back to what is now episode number 79 of gCéadaoin Weekly. So faltarás chuig agran iver seachtain de gCéadaoin Weekly, and one of the last episodes, Ceann na episode Dernacha this year in moille. Only a few weeks left of the year, of course, ní le cúpla seachtain fácha in moille. And the schedule, I'll say it now before I forget, tá mé hon rá an níis rih a dhéanam dermid. The schedule for Christmas in January on gCéadaoin Weekly is as follows, though. Tá an schedule marshal le mín agus mí anar gCéadaoin Weekly. There will be three episodes coming out next week, as usual. So Mars Canach by three agran or three lagan ten fudcrella, three versions of the podcast. Ag tacht amach an seachtain se hugan, so sin an tuchtú logic to the nonolog, no seachtain logic Patreons, the 18th of December or the 17th over on Patreon. If you are following us over there, má tatu in our Laninch Hall on Shin. There will be no podcast coming out then the following week on Christmas week, so seachtain nonolog ní bhaid aon podcrelty ag tacht amach. On New Year's Eve, there will be one podcast coming out, just one version. So we'll lag on the one ag tacht amach ihe chin blina, the kind of New Year's Eve special, which I record pretty much live on New Year's Eve every year. So a bhí ag déanamh says bio gach blin ihe chin blina. And then we'll be taking our annual break for a few weeks. But I'm taking tógáil our sus blin tool fad cúpla seachtain just on gCéadaoin Weekly. If you follow the other Learn Irish Online stuff, that'll be running as usual. So má tatu in our Laninch Patreon, no rud eile buinse le Learn Irish Online, cosú le Instagram, no YouTube. All those things will be going as usual. Ban rudi sin siúil mar is gnách. There'll be no change ní bhaid in April, and then gCéadaoin Weekly will come back as usual, probably the third week of January by gCéadaoin Weekly rash. Could see on gná schedule timppel an tríú seachtain de bhí anar. So I said I'll say that at the start. Dúirt mé tá mé hon é sin ará ag tús an fudcréile before I forget rih a dhéanam dermid, and people are here in a few weeks going, where's gCéadaoin Weekly gone coil gCéadaoin Weekly imiha? We're not going anywhere, just on a break for a few weeks, as always, as we always do in Meanar in January. So when gCéadaoin Weekly came out last week, nar tháinig gCéadaoin Weekly amach an seachtain Shikacha on Wednesday on gCéadaoin, it wasn't the only exciting thing to come out on Spotify. Ní sin an tain rud spragul chun seachtain amach Spotify. Spotify Wrapped also came out last Wednesday. Tháinig Spotify Wrapped amach on gCéadaoin freshen. And Spotify Wrapped, it's very important that you share your Spotify Wrapped on Instagram, on Snapchat, on Facebook, everywhere. Tá sé anna hábhaach go mbíonn tú ag roinnt the Spotify Wrapped gach Instagram Snapchat má tá daoine fós ag úsáid Snapchat if people are still using Snapchat, or Facebook if people are still using Facebook. Má tá daoine fós ag buint úsáid as Facebook, because everybody's interested. Tá sim ag gach everybody's interested in what you were listening to. Tá sim ag gach ag gad a bhíonn tú ar calará tú ag éisteach leis in moille. And everybody's interested. What was your May like? What was your August like? Cin chuí rá the bhí lúnasa, mar hampla, what vibe did you have for September? Cin vibe a bhí agat le mí bheán fóver? So make sure to share it. Make sure to tell everyone. Share it multiple times if you want. Bhí rinse the Spotify Wrapped cúpla or must mean that. And I'm certainly one of those people, especially Ceann na daoine sin, who does share his Spotify Wrapped relatively aggressively on social medias. So na meán always shield that. But I am obsessed with music. I do love my music. I'm always posting on my personal Instagram about different songs that I like. I'm not posting, but kind of putting up on my story. A chur rudí sús my scale, around nua, a hádig mayor, who different songs I came across. That's my main really use on Instagram in terms of things I put up myself. Mod share the ruddy a bhím féin a chur sús. So I said I'd talk through a bit because everybody's so interested. Tá sim ag an méid sin daoine my Spotify Wrapped. in my Spotify Wrapped that I'd go through a bit, 1-2 things from my own Spotify Wrapped, and then I get 2 Spotify Wraps, of course. So if I'm gá wrapped, gá wrapped, caiimid scachrad a chuineal san iver uha as Gaeilge. We have to keep everything in the singular in Irish after counting, so gá wrapped. But I get 2, so I have 1 for my personal Spotify, so if I'm Ceann one, Maidir le my Spotify persanta, and then another one obviously for Gaeilge Weekly from Spotify for creators or Spotify podcasters. Nílas agam Ceann atá inis, I don't know what it's called now, they recently changed it. So I will speak about Gaeilge Weekly by me ag leabhart Gaeilge Weekly kind of towards the end of this podcast and some of the stats and cool things that we had Maidir leis an bud céirlas a cúpla statisticí bhí agin Maidir le Gaeilge Weekly in Molina. Firstly, my own one, what was the number 1 song? Cén Tarann a bhí agam mar an aran around a géisteacht leis níos mó ná on ceann eile, the song that I was listening to more than any others. It was Closer to You by the Coronas. Obviously, for copyright reasons, I can't put it in right here. I wish, I'm always thinking about this, Goni beam ag smuoinú fisha. I wish you could just put in music into your Spotify podcast without copyright issues. Bheadh sé go hintach dá méfá in an just aran a chur seach the fud céile Spotify gan fibena le cope ceart with copyright, because it would add so much to the podcast, I think. But anyway, people are listening on Spotify or different places. Tá daoine géisteach their Spotify no áit an eile, so you can go and listen to Closer to You by the Coronas má tá tú ag éirí if you want. And Closer to You is a great song. I like it. I was actually listening to it the evening before Spotify Wrapped came out, so it's around intoché agus bhí mé géisteach leis ceapam an ihe riv no beidir gá ihe riv a hánig Spotify Wrapped amach. So I still definitely like it, folks. It's mad me, but I certainly wouldn't say it was my favourite song throughout this year. Gandaus ní deirhin grau sé mar an Tarann is fearlam im Lena, but it is a good song. One kind of slight problem I do have with Spotify Wrapped, says 5 yug atá agam le Spotify Wrapped, is that it's very biased towards songs that you were listening to at the start of the year. Tá sé an chlénta chuig aran ará tú ag éisteach ló ag tús na blina. And especially the way I use Spotify, go háirithe an chuí a bhím féin ag úsáid Spotify. Because basically what I do on Spotify and rud íanam ná, I have a playlist for every year since I started using the app. So tá playlist agam, tá lista, shine lista agam le haid gach blian ó nar thosaí mé ag úsáid Spotify. I think it was 2015 ceapam gur sé gábhíle is a cuaig that I first started using it gur bhain mé úsáid as don chéad or. So what I'll do, for example, if I go back to 2019, I have a full list of songs. Ma him arash go gábhíle is an líofa tá lista omlán agam sa haran, and they're all in order of just songs that I like. So maybe in January 2019, if there was a song I was listening to a lot, mas rudé go raibh aran or mé gafa leis I ri meanar gábhíl sa líofa ag an am chur mé sa playlist I put it in the playlist and it's there forever. So mar hampla, it's good because I can go back to, let's say, 2020, for example. Tá sé go maith mar is féidirlumm dul arás go gábhíle is a fiche, I can go 1 quarter down, tá mé ná dul sais ceathrú hís sa playlist, and I can say, oh, those were the songs that I was listening to when COVID hit. Sin hiad na haran ará mé ag éisteach ló nuair a thosaí an pandéim agus nuair a bhfuil COVID linn. When COVID met us all, or kind of came into contact with us for the first time. So it is nice to be able to go back, even all the way back to 2015, almost 10 years ago now. Tá mé an dul arás go gábhíle is a cuaig bíonn nach 10 mlín hin, and kind of look at what I was listening to different parts of the year, and just it doesn't have to have come out that year. Ní caiith sé bheith ón mlín sin. For example, there's loads of, I don't know, probably Michael Jackson or Oasis, or these older songs tá lant and sa sean haran so sna playlist show it gábhíl sa seachtain gábhíl sa fiche dó, but they were just whatever I was listening to that year. But one of the issues with that, ceann na mionnaibene le sin, is obviously throughout this year, let's say from March onwards, where my 2024 playlist has been big enough to just hit shuffle and to listen to whatever. So Obeidir Mórta ará as sin, tá an playlist sin cóh mór gohfuil mé ná just shuffle úsáid. And of course, the songs that I added in January and February, in other words, the songs I was listening to in January and February, so are all mé géisteach ló in mi anar agus mi fiara. They're in there for the full year compared to something I discovered in September. Níl sean sin ach ar fad cúpla mí. It's only there for a few months. So when you're using shuffle all the time, which I do, it's coming up again and again and again and again. And I like to use shuffle, it's matlam shuffle, úsáid. Someone said this a few weeks ago. Noel Gallagher, I think. I was listening to, there's your weekly Gallagher reference. There'll be more to come later. So sin an says, Taggart seachtain Madra leis na Gallaghers, no Oasis. But he was saying shuffle is he's quite like anti a lot of the modern stuff and not anti-streaming, you know, he had níon on streaming go mór leis, and he prefers the kind of old way and sean stíl and listening to a full album instead of tracks. So he géisteach le album umlán in áit na trachana. But he was saying one of the things that's great about modern music, ceann san rudí is fearr, agus ceann san rudí atá chinnteach maidir le ceol nó aimsithe, that is shuffle. Agus gohfuil tú an shuffle úsáid. It's so cool. People don't speak about it enough because otherwise, it's like listening to the radio. It's brilliant because you get something unexpected. Being rud éigean agat nach bhfuil tú agsú leis. So it's really cool. Anyway, because I use that and you shuffle, obviously, statistically, mathematically, the ones from January and February, na chéan no mi anar agus fiara, bíonn siad ag teacht an níos arís is arís. And so most years it tends to be something I discovered or was really into in January and February. I push in the playlist and then it comes up all the time. Tagann Jesus an FAD. It was the same last year. Last year I had a great song though from January that ended up being my number one. Bhí sé mar Ibrahim ag Sarah na Blina. That was, what was it? 2 a.m. by Foles. Really good kind of indie pop rock song on the wa. FAD, I would recommend it highly. Probably not as good, Closer to You by the Coronas, probably not as good, but anyway, that's okay. So Neil, Closer to You leis na Coronas, Cóh ma sin ach fós tá sé anna cool ceapan, and I'm still happy with it overall. I was a bit afraid at first bhí bugailín agla orm ar dús when I opened up the Spotify Wrapped and duscail me sús on Wrapped, because you know how it's like an Instagram story, you've got all these different slides to it, tá an says slides difriúil agat tá sé gosúil le scale ar Instagram. And when I opened up the first kind of story or the first slide near duscail me an chéad slide, there was a song by Girls Loud playing in the background, because there's always one song for every kind of slide. Tá hour on the wall, like gach slide, like gach scale, gach chuid scale, every kind of part of the story. And Girls Loud, Biology by Girls Loud, so Biology le Girls Loud, bhí sé ar siúil, and I thought no, because that was another one that I added in January or February sin, Ceann eile chur mé leis an bud craile in mi anar no mi fiara, and I thought no, don't tell me ná harlam goil sé seo sna top 5 no beidir ag Ibrahim. I will not be able to share it if Girls Loud is up there. I'm not embarrassed about Girls Loud. I think Girls Loud have got some great tunes, you know. Tá cúpla hour on an hour on iontacha ag Girls Loud, Biology, Call the Shots, Freshen, tá cúpla ceann eile. Tá mé dúireach tar éis dearmad a dhéanamh who I'm just after forgetting them, and I was looking them up on the simpler version of the podcast as well. Bhí mé cuairtú na hauran seo ar an legan NÍOS SIMPLÍ sin fud gael Sound of the Underground, Love Machine's a banger. It's a banger, Love Machine. So, you know, I'm not too embarrassed by it, but I said please don't be number one, but it was just they play whatever, some of your top 20 or top 30 songs from the year in those kind of slides. So it wasn't number one. Closer to You led the Coronas, Ibrahim, Iverdó, all on shot or Spotify, agus leihi me amach on top 5. I'll read out the top 5, but I don't think too many people will know these tunes really. But anyway, overall I think I was happy with them. I've got Ibrahim, Closer to You, the Coronas, Iverdó, East Side led Jack Marlowe, agus Jaish sounds like kind of an Irish word, doesn't it? Jaish. Ivertree Feeling led the Lads. That's one I'm really happy with, and I wish that was number one. Agus níor tháinig mé ar an hour an sin go dtí mi Lunasa no mi bhean fóver Beiger. I only discovered that song in August or September, I think. So that's impressive that it got up that far. So bhí mé sásta le sin. That's a lot of people might know the Lads from the song There She Goes Again. agus ní raibh album one ag the Laz. The Laz only had one album. They released it in 1990, I believe. Tháinig siad amach leis an album sin níos ag nócha. And they never did another album or released another track again. Níor tháinig siad amach le aon rud eile in níos sin after that. So obviously, There She Goes is their main song. I say There She Goes on Príomh Aran a bhí acu. But probably the second most famous one on Ceann is called Lula, has to be Feelin', Feelin', apostrophe. Really good tune. It's only 2 minutes long, even less, 1 minute 45. Something like Nóméad is Carcachu second. So because of that, it's maybe didn't do as well commercially. Ní raibh sé chomh maith, nó ní dhearna sé chomh maith level tráchtála. But it's still a cracker of a song, and I can't remember how I discovered it. I think I just wanted to go through the Laz other stuff after hearing There She Goes again for the first time in a while. Thresh dom There She Goes, a chlustal, dun céadóir, thresh tamil, bhí me like, okay, tá mé honéisteach le nísmó aran le the Laz. Regulate, the LaBouffe remix, o Warren G, Nate Dogg agus LaBouffe arísh Ceann ó Mianar. Agus Speed Drive le Charlie XCX. Níor tháinig mé ar Speed Drive go dtí mí mórta nó mí Ibron so freshen. I was kind of, that did well, pound for pound, I guess. And then a lot of other stuff. Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, Bob Sinclair, Future Islands, Gorillaz, Tame Impala, LF System, Jamie Jones, really, cosúla sin Oasis an sin. Ach ní raibh aon Oasis sa top 16. No Oasis all in the top 16 on Céadaoin on sin war the 16 on top 17. It talks tonight le Oasis on Príomh Ceann on sin no on Ceann is order the highest one from Oasis, which was surprising. But yeah, apart from that, I was looking through the top 50 because Spotify not only gives you the top 5, ní thuan Spotify on top 5 that's a freshen tugan sé your top 100 in a playlist that you were listening to. I think a lot of people forget that. Ceapam Ganyen and Dini Zarmid. Shin, that's the playlist I'm looking at now. You just put in your top songs 2024 agus Tagann Jesus on playlist show. And as on top Quaga, so out of the top 50, there were only 2 songs that had actually been released this year. Near a aron a hánig amach in Molina, which is crazy. A lot of songs from 2023, a lot aron o gabhíle is a 3, but from this year, on Bhlín seo, ní raibh a cúpla ceann, literally cúpla ceann, 2 of them, couple of them. Ceann one, Shooting Star, le Jazzy, people might know her, an Irish kind of vocalist, agus bíonn she conú lán aron electronica, a lot of kind of electronic songs, agus mata aithne a ghéine Belters Only. If anyone knows Belters Only, the Irish DJ duo, unvert DJs in Éireann as Bailile Clia, she sings on the majority of their songs, or a lot of them anyway, bíonn siise ag conú a lán sa na haireann atá acu. So she was there, but definitely my favourite song that's been released this year from anyone, and the other song that was in the top 50 from this year, on Tain Aran Ella, on Bhlín seo, or the top 50 favourite Le Fontaines DC. And for years I'd heard about Fontaines DC, le blianta, chuail mé faoi Fontaines DC, but I'd never really bothered to listen to any of their music. Níor simang I'm really éisteach leis an cheol or bhí acu níl sagam cin fád. I don't really know why. I think I'd seen pictures of them, honnig mé cúpla picture acu, and I was like, they look a bit too alternative to me, or a bit too out there. There's bigly ro alternach dumsa. And I think really listening to their previous albums, some of their stuff was a bit too out there for me. Géisteach le anis leis na albumna a bhí acu ribh seo, listening to their previous albums. I think, they were probably a bit too much, but the album they came out with this year, an album, a hánig siad amach leis an Molina, so good, and I think more commercial and more anybody could enjoy it. There's more people who could enjoy it. Tá níos mó daoine gur féidir le taitneamh of winch Aston. Favourite, Starburster, Bug, just brilliant songs, and I've been obsessed with them, really. Not obsessed, but I've been really into them last few months to me. So it's grafalo le cúpla mí anús, and yeah, definitely if they'd come out with that album, or I discovered that song at the start of the year, but sure they crown my hun tacht on our own sin ag túsna blina, it would definitely be up there top 5, maybe even number 1, because I was listening to it a lot in the last 2 or 3 months since it came out. Bhí mé géisteach leis an tám fad le gá nó trí bhí anús ó nuair a tháinig sé amach. So very happy with that being up there, and probably my favourite song that was released in 2024. Ceapam an taran as fearlam a tháinig amach I gábhíle is a fithe carthair. Telepatia, like Caliuchis, tá sé hús an sin iver a charchadó, and that's a song that was number 1 a few years ago, number 2 another year, number 3 another year, bhí sé sin mar iver a hain blin amháin, iver a dó blin eile, iver 3 blin eile. It's always up there. This year a bit lower, but it's always up there. I gcónaí tá sé hús an sin. Telepatia, like Caliuchis, one of my favourite songs of all time. Ceann sa na haran is fearlam ó gach or gach. So yeah, overall happy, but again, it is a bit annoying how it leans towards songs earlier on in the year. Tá sé beagalín, chuann sé seachar an beagalín an chuí ó bhfuil sé cléinte chuig arán agus aránithe ó hús na bliana. And if I had to pick one song that I think sums up this year for me, or this is the soundtrack of my year, because I know I'm always speaking about music on the show, tá sagam an gomín me I gcónaí ag labhairt faoin gceol an show. One song, it doesn't matter when it was released, where it is on my raps, just come a cinná to bhfuil sé ar raps nó chathan na tháinig sé amach. Broken Arrow le nGaeilge Weekly. Wow, do chreidte. Tháinig mé, like tháinig sé amach I gábhíle is a hainte, it came out 2011, but I made an effort this year to probably listen to less Oasis and more of Noel Gallagher's solo stuff. So níos lúd de Oasis agus níos mó de solo, na rudí solo ar rinne Noel Gallagher, and came across that song Broken Arrow. Tháinig mé ar an áireann sin Broken Arrow, and it is phenomenal. Tá sé do chreidte in áir, tá sé ar fad. So that for me is the soundtrack of the year, and the song that sums up my year more than any other an taran with mar an soundtrack in bblion dumsa ar éinos. Aside from that, one thing I was disappointed, and I was disappointed in myself. Bhí díma orm agus bhí díma onm féin maidir le seo. Loyal Carner, always, every year, is on my top 5 artists. He has a song or 2 songs in the top 5 songs. Tá Aaron, no bitter cá Aaron, Eile in my top 5. Been Session, mar Ceann, in the top 5 artists. He's always there as one of the top 5 artists in my list, but Gomininic Irahain, often number 1. He wasn't anywhere to be seen this year. Ní raibh sé aon lot ar churbe I me rapt in Molina. And I was just pointing to myself, bhí díma an féin, because I love Loyal Carner's music. It's evenlam ceol Loyal Carner. And it was a reminder to myself, chuir sé gwibhna dom, that I just didn't listen to enough of him this year. And I don't mean that in terms of, oh, I want to get him in my raps, tá mé géirí goil sé in my raps, but it's his music helps me a lot. Caríonn sé chomórlam agus caríonn a chuid ceol lum, and it's very powerful music, and I just love listening to it and feel good when I listen to it. Moithim gama nar bhíonn mé éis the clash. So 2025, I promised myself, and I promised Loyal Carner, Gallam dom féin agus Gallam the Loyal Carner, he's going to be much higher. He's going to be back to number 1 and number 2 in terms of top artists with Oasis and Noel and everyone else. Let Oasis agus Noel agus seachtain. He's going to be right up there. And Asho Lengi, my favourite song of his, by sé hús an sin freshen, it'll be up there as well, because yeah, but it was a good reminder. I said I need to listen to more Loyal Carner. Caithim éis the níos mó Loyal Carner, and maybe, just maybe, he might be coming out with a new album in 2025. Not sure yet. Chance go mai sé ag teachtamach le album nua I gábhíle is fiche cúg. I've just realised a lot of people might not even know who Loyal Carner is. Chance ma nachhfuil is again duine nó nachhfuil is a gach duine ché Loyal Carner, but you can look him up, Loyle Carner, Carner. So yeah, podcasts as well, the usual ones, na gná Podcrailty. Thankfully gCéadaoin Weekly wasn't in the top 5. Near gCéadaoin Weekly is the top 5. That would be very vain if I was just listening to myself every week. Bheith sé sin an gascúil dul méach mé féin ag éisteachlumm féin gach seachtain. But a lot of F1 ones, so a lot keen buinte le Formula 1. Formula 1 bring back V10s mar hampla, which is a show where they kind of go back. I think I spoke about it before. Ceapan Grama ag labhairt faoi rive air on Bud Creila on the podcast. But essentially they go back and pick a random race or random event from 20, 30 years ago. Tin siad the rash, tin siad siar go fiche blin ó hin, strucha blin ó hin, piochan siad rás around the muck, and they speak essentially about the race and everything that was going on in Formula 1 at that time. La rion siad faoin rás sin agus gacrad a bhí ar siúil F1 egg on Sin Radio Rufus as well, which I'm sure I've spoken about. I think I spoke about in the summer I ceapan gur mé gláirtrí radio Rufus I lór an Tauri, ré an Tauri, and how funny it is, and definitely the funniest podcast that I know and that I listen to on Podcréile is Granvra a bhíon mise ag éiste leis. I haven't listened to as much of it over the last few months. I think they've had more guests on, and I prefer the podcast or the episodes just with the two hosts. So it's fearlum the episode just le Rufus agus Cintanam an lad eile an lad éireannach, the Irish guy Aidan. So I prefer when it's just those two. Is fearlum nar bhíon an bhirrtachu amháin on Bud and Crime World as well, which wasn't I've wrote down Crime World here, scrutiny sheets Crime World and shut, but I don't think it was actually in my top 5. Ní ceapan gráise in top 5, but it will be next year, I'd say. Seans má go mai sé an bhliain se hugan, because I only discovered it really over the last month or two, and you're tháinig mé ach le míno go a news with all the stuff with the election and Jerry Hutch and the arrest in Spain, gachrad buinte le Jerry Hutch. And I find it really interesting. I've gone back and listened to 40 or 50 of the archive episodes from a year or two ago. Tá mid $3 agus éisteach le a long episode difriúla ó bhliain ó hin, ó gá bhliain ó hin. And I find it really interesting. Crime World with Nicola Tallant and Niall Donald. Agus tá chemistry iontach acu le chéile. Agus, yeah, it's really good to listen to, even if you don't know much about crime. Few muna will more on ólas agat. Faoin gore agus gore in Éireann and gangland crime in Ireland, it doesn't really matter. They make it accessible to everyone. Tá seoscailte do gach and it's really enjoyable. I'd recommend it, even if you're not into that stuff. You muna bhfuil sim agus rudí sin. It's pretty cool, and I love the way they speak about it. Just even them an chuí a bhíonn siad ag labhartrí. And then, of course, gCéadaoin Weekly. So, what were the gCéadaoin Weekly numbers? Well, bhí 7,000 duine le gCéadaoin Weekly acu sa top 10 podcasts. So about 7,000 people had gCéadaoin Weekly in their top 10 podcasts. Bhí 1.7 duine le gCéadaoin Weekly mar an pre-fud Gréile acu. So 1.7 thousand people had gCéadaoin Weekly as their top podcast, their main podcast on Podcréile. Then a bhíonn siad ag éisteacht leis níos mó ná aon ceann eile. It's the podcast they listen to more than anyone else. Top fans, I think Spotify calls it. So we've 1.7k top fans Spotify. So if you're one of them, let us know. Comments here on Spotify, especially trochtaracht ágal an seo Spotify, or you can give us an email or Instagram over on Learn Irish Online or liam.learnirishodline@gmail.com. Also, the highest chart placing we had in Ireland, we were 51 in the Irish podcast charts. Vim's ag iver chuige hain sna chórsaige podcréiltí in Éireann, which is ridiculous. Tá sé sin dochreide. Most weeks this year, I think 30 or 35 weeks of the year so far, vimid sna chórsaige in Éireann. So we're in the charts about 30 or 35 out of the 52 weeks this year. And to put that in perspective, out of the 200 that are in the charts most weeks, there's normally only one that is not in English. Níl ceann nachhfuil in Merla, and that is gCéadaoin Weekly, sin gCéadaoin Weekly. 199, if not, even the weeks we're out, but then all 200, they're in English. So, ein chéad nó chaní is as bearlaid. Tá si déanta in Merla, agus, there's no Irish or no Spanish or no other language, níl aon sanga eile arthú. So we're the only non-English podcast to be consistently in the top 200 podcasts in Ireland throughout the year. But muidse an 10 Podcréile nach raibh déanta in Merla chuna bheith sna chórsaige in Éireann. Beag nach gach seachtain, or ní beag nach gach seachtain, but the majority of weeks an chuid is mó to na seachtainní I rith na bliana. And that just shows you, more than anything else, firstly, the support you guys show to the podcast. So tá spon sé sin níos mó na aon rud eile an takeíocht a thugann sibh don Podcréile, but it also shows the interest that people have in improving their Irish, in listening to something in Irish, and listening to new, modern, non-outdated resources. A géisteach le níos mó rudí nua aimsrithe, rudí simúla. Well, I don't know if it's interesting, but some people seem to find it interesting. Chance má gohfuil daoine agus ceapan siad gohfuil sé seo simul, even though sometimes feel like I'm just rambling about whatever else I might have been up to, but some people seem to like that. Tá chuma go daithníonn sé sin le daoine. So a big thank you, guys. Just gur míle maith for the support all throughout the year. I'll be speaking about this more on New Year's Eve. Seans má go mai mé ag labhairt níos mó faoi seo ihe chin bliana. But a big thank you for listening every week. And again, it's not because of the work I've done, what I do isn't that hard. I sit here and talk for half an hour, being mission shot ag leabhart ar fáil leat or but what you guys do is you tune in every week, you show support to the podcast. I get emails from people all the time thanking me, I suppose, for gCéadaoin Weekly, but again, it's you guys that get us to those chart positions that show how well we're doing, and you know, because you guys are listening and win those charts, Marial equals Shiv Shagage, the clues school much in the courts shin. I don't care about where we're on the charts, makes no difference to me. On the end saying different dumpster, but the great thing is people who've barely any interest in learning Irish go onto Spotify, they look, oh, I want to find a new podcast, they're looking through the charts, they see one that's on English, they go, what? There's an Irish one there? Ceann gCéadaoin on chin? Then maybe they start listening and it could start, you know, a whole lifetime journey of learning Irish. Chance go do slóí sé no go do over Ashtar nua, Ashtar ar fan sail ar fad ag fólam na nGaeilge. So the more you're listening, the more you guys are supporting, the more the Irish is growing and the more people who can learn Irish and the more resources we can make and the more podcasts we can make here at Learn Irish Online to help people do that. So má tá sibh sé ag takeíocht lín is féidir linne níos mó rudí a chruthú agus níos mó content chruthú níos mó podcréaltaí, so tá fear week as sin agus fear week grá sibh lín an bhliain ar fad, and we'll be here in 2025, plenty more to come. I'm sure we'll do even better things in the year to come. Tá cínta gnéin humans few rudí níos fearr an bhliain seo thugan. So that is it, guys. Sinead gur míle maic as an takeíocht. Big thank you for the support, and we'll be speaking again next week on the Christmas special when take leabhart arís an seachtain seo thugan air on Christmas special. Míle buchas slán agus bannacht.